Köszöntöm a nézőket! A mai Szubjektívben a jazzről fogunk beszélgetni. A műsorunk vendége pedig korunk egyik legnagyobb elismert tehetsége, Strickland, amerikai dzsesszzenész. Hi Marcus, welcome to Novi Sad, welcome to our show. I'm gonna start with Nothing New, Nihil Novi, that's your latest album. It's anything but nothing new.
It's definitely just the way that I find it's most productive to think this way as a creative person for me. To realize that there's nothing new out there, that everything that I need is already here. There's nothing that comes from thin air. So, you know, I really take pride in the studious part of myself, and I'm always checking out music from the past, music that's around me right now, keeping curious, and that's how I keep things fresh in my creativity.
There are some Hungarian traditional music on that album.
Yeah.
Tell me a bit more about that.
Oh yeah, it's a long time ago. A great pianist by the name of Aaron Parks, he showed me this incredible recording of Bela Bartok playing his own pieces, and it's remarkable because when I heard some of the pieces, I heard how he was kind of swinging, like the rhythms, like dum dum ding dum dum ding dum. Like there was a certain lilt to the rhythm that he used, and I could imagine that it's very hard to write that. I felt like I was hearing his heartbeat, his personal heartbeat through the music. It was very moving, and I found myself sampling these recordings, and a lot of the recordings were Hungarian songs that he wrote, and I'm not sure if there were traditional songs in there as well, but like I think he wrote a lot of those. And I took the samples, sometimes I'll just flip them around or take something out, filter something out or something, just mess with them, and I would make beats out of those samples. And one of the songs that's on the record, it's from a sample that, you know, like when I turned it around, it sounded like gospel music, like the progressions and everything, how it went, and it became the song "Talking Loud," and yeah, it's just remarkable the way that, you know, like all the things that are necessary to create something, they're already there. You know, like Bela Bartok, I mean, his music has been around for ages, like so long. So. But yet, you know, you can still create something fresh from it. So yeah, he unknowingly contributed to my record.
And yes, I know that you like to work with samples and beats. You work on them, and after that you remove the samples. What else influences you?
Oh, a lot of things that influence me are the times. You know, like for instance, with TikTok. I think we have a very like as humans, we have a very interesting relationship with time, and that kind of ties into the title Nihil Novi. Like many times, an event will happen, then time will pass, and we'll kind of forget about the event, and then the same event will happen, and we'll treat it as if it's a new thing. We're like so surprised, like, oh my God, this happened again. We're like, oh my God, a black man getting beat by the police for doing absolutely nothing. Oh my God, it's such a surprise. It's like, this has been going on for a long time. The only difference is now we have cameras. But, you know, that's kind of what TikTok is about. The title is both influenced by that kind of relationship with time, and also the sample that I have in there. I sampled, I can't remember the name of the singer that I sampled, but she's an Afro-Peruvian singer, and in the background of her music she had a cajon drum. It was like, and when I ran it through a filter, it sounded like a clock. So yeah, the combination of that, and also just how I think of time, it created TikTok. And yeah, but every single song on here has stories like that.
You recently, I saw, worked with Chris Dave. He worked with Adele,
Yeah.
amongst all.
It's actually a very recent venture of me to collaborate with musicians. I feel that prior I've always worked by myself pretty much and had my personal acoustic quartet. I'll just bring in a tune and we would play. But with this project, I learned a lot about collaboration and the many aspects of the human experience that is necessary to make a collaboration work. And I overcame many fears on this record. I overcame the fear of asking Michelle Indigno-Cello to produce it. I overcame the fear of asking many friends of mine that I really admire to come join me and make this record. So it felt very free. Like as the more that I overcame these fears, the more I wanted to overcome fear. So yeah, I'm glad that I went about this because it has changed my whole perspective. It's opened up my world, and it has allowed something that started as a seed in my mind to be nourished by the energy of many different incredible musicians working together to make something bigger than all of us.
You were born in Florida and you grew up in Miami.
Yeah.
When was the first time you get in touch with jazz? I heard that your father was one of your early inspirations.
Yeah, I think the first time I heard jazz was in the womb, actually. Me and my twin brother EJ, who plays drums, we were both in our mom's womb, and my dad would put her womb up to the stereo speaker, and he played all kinds of incredible music to us. He would play like Freddie Hubbard, and then Parliament, and play some maybe some Ornette Coleman, and then play some Stevie Wonder. Like there wasn't really a barrier to what kind of music he would play, and so we always had great music playing around the house. And I think naturally, by the time we became 11 years old, we gravitated towards jazz music, because jazz music is kind of like all music, in my opinion. I feel it's all music. It just absorbs whatever it's around it, and it just it gives back to what it took from, you know.
What are you listening when you're not listening jazz? I read somewhere that you said that jazz musicians and hip hop musicians are very similar.
Oh, definitely. The jazz music when it first came on the scene, it was not accepted as real music or serious music by the the reigning demographic. It was looked down upon. It was called devil's music. It was played in brothels. It was rebellious and radical, and because of that, popular. Because it's a sound that's very compelling, and I feel when hip hop came on the scene, it was exactly that too. It was real. It was coming from a very honest perspective of the life of the people, not the elite or not the upper class. It was just the people. It represented what the struggle was, and it's hip hop was also looked down upon too. This is seen as they're not real musicians. They're making music from other people's music and da da da. They're sampling, But more and more as time goes on, I think the majority of people are understanding how ingenious these rappers are. And just like any other music, there's good and there's bad. There's some people who are not that good at it, some people who are absolute masters at it. One of my most inspiring musicians to this day is Kendrick Lamar. I feel he's a modern day Renaissance man. Also, Mos Def, he's a Renaissance man too. He acts. He's an incredible actor. And this is also in addition to being a lyricist and poet and narrator. Mos Def is a very, very interesting guy. And I feel that once people get past their initial ice, it's like kind of like a wall of ice, because it's a culture shock. I feel, the hip hop is a culture shock. People wear gold teeth. They have baggy jeans. They have a certain demeanor that is a culture shock to a lot of people. But once you get past that, you realize these guys are geniuses. They are absolute incredible thinkers, thinking way ahead of their time, thinking outside of the box of where they grew up, and able to look back into that box and get from it very potent material through which they make their art. So that's the same thing as a jazz musician. That's what we do, and it all stems from the same thing, which is the blues.
And you came here to the Novi Sad Jazz Festival with Twee Life.
Yeah.
Tell me a bit more about them, the guys.
Yeah, it's very exciting to travel with this group because I want this kind of sound and this kind of approach to music to be as far widespread as possible. We basically do not give. we don't care. We get on stage and we're free. We play what we feel like playing. We play it differently every time. We're open to anything that's around us, and we allow that to inspire us. You know, so like it's a very exciting way of existing. You know, so yeah, it really pleases me to bring this group to Novi Sad, to Serbia, because you know it's definitely a place I don't visit every day. So you know that's the pleasures of playing music. It brings you to parts of the world that you otherwise would not see.
When Marcus is not on festivals, when Marcus is not doing jazz, not working on jazz, what is he doing?
Who knows? I mean, one thing, for some reason, I like to work with web coding. It's so weird. I found that it really relaxes my mind. My mind is always going, like, always spinning, always spinning. So one thing that really relaxes it is to keep it occupied. And yeah, so one of my hobbies is to code websites, and it keeps my mind occupied. It keeps it in the creative realm, and it's very relaxing. I find it very addictive, actually. Sometimes it takes over, and I'm like, oh wait, I have to practice my saxophone, you know. So yeah, that's one thing I like to do. I also like movies a lot. I totally enjoy sci-fi movies.
How do you see the future of jazz at this point?
It's very, very hard to know it, and I think that's a good thing. It's good to not be able to predict where it's going to go, but I definitely think that it's going to just keep on expanding its horizons. You know, there's going to always be a purist kind of jazz musician, and there's always going to be an experimental jazz musician, and they're always going to clash, and that's what's going to create the next wave of creative music. You know, the tension is exactly what it needs. You know, a lot of people are obsessed with the past, and some are obsessed with the future, and somewhere in there comes the present. So yeah, it's, you know, the future of jazz, I have no idea what it is, but I assure you it'll be here, and everything else will be dead. A lot of people talk about jazz dying. It's not dying. It's like a cockroach. It survives anything because it's so pure. It's full of creativity. It's full of life. It keeps on reinventing itself, and it's the music of now. So it's not necessarily going to be the most popular music, but it's going to be around forever.
What's the next for you?
Next for me, I guess, is just thinking about the next record. I've already started on a few tracks. I'm also thinking about working with film, like, because I've realized that a lot of my writing is very cinematic. So like, yeah, I want to just expand my horizons. You know, I'm already talking to somebody about possibly doing some music for film, for short films, and yeah, it's a very exciting time. You know, like, but right now I just want to tour with this music. You know?
Marcus, thank you very much for this conversation, and have a great time here at us.
All right, thank you. Thanks for having me.